Okay, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt so lonely you wished you could just, rent a friend? Well, that's the fascinating and, believe it or not, super moving idea at the heart of this film, Rental Family. So today we're going to break down a review that really gets into its story and what it's all about. Right, so the entire film, it really just hinges on this one question. What if you could hire someone to be your companion, or your family, or even just a friendly face for an afternoon? I know, it sounds kind of strange, but trust me, it's the way we get into a really, really human story. And yeah, that's the central idea right there. Connection for hire. On the surface, it feels so transactional, maybe even a little off. But the thing is, as this review points out, what's really going on underneath it all is something every single one of us can relate to. And here's the kicker. This isn't science fiction. In Japan, this is a real service. People can literally hire actors to play roles in their lives. You need a father for a school event? Done. A friend for a party? You got it. Or even just someone to sit and listen. It's a real thing. Shocking, right? I mean, that's the gut reaction for most of us. And the review is totally upfront about that. That initial jolt is part of the whole experience. It just feels like it breaks some fundamental rule about how relationships are supposed to work. But the film, it doesn't just stay there, in that shock value. Nope, it uses that feeling as a launch pad to dive into something way deeper. See, it's not really about the service itself, it's about the universal human need that makes a service like this even exist in the first place. So the way the film explores all this is through the journey of its main character. We see this world entirely through his eyes, and that's what makes this really unusual idea feel so personal and up close. So we meet Philip, who is played by the one and only Brendan Fraser, and he's a total outsider. And not just because he's a foreigner in Japan, he's an outsider in his own life. He's just kind of drifting. And that feeling, that quiet isolation, I think a lot of us can recognize that no matter where we're from. Now, this is a really key point. When Philip starts working for this rental family agency, the movie makes it crystal clear that this isn't a story about tricking people. It's about his search and his client's search for a real, genuine connection, even if they find it in this, well, pretty unconventional way. And this is where the film really finds its heart. It's in these fragile, temporary bonds that form during these paid gigs. You realize pretty quickly, these aren't just business deals. They start to become something more. The review points out that there are two relationships in particular that are just the absolute core of the film. First, Philip gets hired to be a father figure for a little girl. And second, he becomes a companion for an elderly man who's nearing the end of his life. And it's in these moments that the lines between acting and real feeling just start to totally blur. And listen to the language the reviewer uses to describe this stuff. It's just incredible. We're not just talking about sad stories here. They're handled with a sincerity that really feels earned. Words like aching beauty. I mean, that perfectly captures a connection that's both amazing and painful, all because it's manufactured. Okay, so you're probably asking yourself, but why? Why does a service like this even exist? Well, to really get it, the film gives us this really sensitive look into the cultural context. This isn't just some weird, random thing. It actually comes from some very specific social dynamics. The review explains that in Japanese culture, there's often this huge emphasis on harmony and politeness, sometimes even overexpressing what you're really feeling. And what that can do is make it super, super difficult for people to show they're vulnerable or to ask for help, even from the people closest to them. And that leads to this really powerful idea. The rental service, it creates a safe space. It's a structured, defined interaction. So someone can get comfort or feel seen without all the baggage and the fear of judgment that can sometimes come with our real relationships. It's like, for a little while, it's a space where you can be completely emotionally honest. So this all brings us to what the reviewer feels is the film's ultimate message, because it really moves beyond just one culture and starts talking about something that's fundamental to every single one of us. The movie really seems to land on this one profound but beautifully simple idea. Think about it. A stranger doesn't have any preconceived ideas about you. There's no shared history. They can just see you for who you are, right in this moment. And sometimes that's everything you need. Because at the end of the day, that's what it all boils down to, isn't it? It doesn't matter who you are or where you're from. Everyone, everywhere, just wants to feel accepted, valued, and understood. The film just uses this really unique story to remind us of that simple, powerful truth. The review wraps up with this really beautiful invitation. It basically says, if you go into this film with a curious and open mind, you're not just going to see a strange story. You're going to have this incredibly rich, emotional experience that might actually change the way you think about human connection. And so that leaves us all with this final thought to chew on. The film seems to be asking, where do we find our truest connections? Maybe they don't always come from the places we expect them to. Maybe not from family or friends we've known forever, but just maybe from a stranger we hired for an hour. It's definitely a question worth thinking about long after the movie is over.